I am Cllr, the Communications Director and Press Secretary to the Gongloe campaign. And today I'm joined by my colleague, Mr. Aaron Nelson, who our Assistant Secretary for Press and Propaganda of the Liberian People's Party. And please, I want you to know him from today. After the campaign, he will be the one and the face you will continue to see all of the time. Having said that, we welcome you in this beautiful room, our press room and our central conference room. And then it is an opportunity for you to listen to our standard bearer, our presidential candidate, Councillor Tiawan Saye Gongloe. People say Tiawan, it's Tiawan Saye Gongloe. And the subject of discussion today is this trending issue that concerns the seizure, arrest and seizure of drugs at the RRA. He has his position, he has a party position that he's going to express to you. So.
Thank you for coming, ladies and gentlemen of the press. I call here this morning because of the very dangerous development that I've heard about over the past few days. Narcotic drugs of all types are a threat to peace, security, and stability. They are also a threat to national progress and development. It is no secret that during the war, drugs were used to get the young people of this country to engage in mindless killings. We are still trying to rehabilitate the young people of this country. And just this year, we had a major drug case, $100 million. And the people were free because the government did not do thorough investigation to present the evidence, which was a failure of the government. Over the past few days, we heard that a huge consignment of drugs came through the Rabat International Airport. And it was imported by a person very close to the president, Bondo, the chief of protocol at the executive mansion. I'm calling upon President Weah today to have Bondo dismissed, immediately arrested, and thoroughly investigated, so that if she's acting in conspiracy with other people, the investigation can then determine those people and have them properly prosecuted. Let me say that I'm offering my legal service to assist the government to prosecute all those who will be found connected with the drug case. The issue of drug is not a political issue, it's a national issue. We cannot have drugs coming. I've said over and over that when I become president, I will address the supply side of the drug problem in this country. If the drugs are not here, our young people will not take the drugs. And the drugs are not coming in through illicit borders. I have said that over and over because as former Solicitor General, I've talked to many DEA officers who have told me, Chief, we can stop the inflow of drugs, but when we stop the drugs at the port where we get calls, that's my interest. But don't touch that. This is a clear example. How come these boxes containing dangerous narcotic drugs came and they were not going through the normal customs? and they were being taken to the airport through another means. I want to thank the AFL, the Chief of Staff, and his able men for being so nationalistic and dutiful. Had it not been so, we probably would have had the entrance of another set of dangerous drugs in our society to further endanger the young people of this country. The purpose of government is to seek the common good, not to endanger the youth of a country, which is being done. So I'm calling upon President George Weah again, if he does not dismiss Finabondo and subject her to investigation and prosecution, then I'm calling upon the legislature as representative of the people to do the right thing, to have him impeached. Because that will be a violation of his constitutional duty and statutory duty. That is my call. And I'm very serious about it. This is not a political call. The evidence is clear that drugs came through our most important border, which is the international airport. Drug is a threat not just to national peace and security, but it is now a threat all over the world to international peace and security. I'm calling upon the international community to even impose sanctions on the government if it fails to show seriousness in investigating this drug issue. If the president fails, we will then presume that he's part of the conspiracy to keep intoxicating the young people of this country. We have a collective responsibility to keep Liberia secure, to keep our sub-region secure, to keep the world secure. We are part of the United Nations, whose major obligation is to maintain international peace and security. The flow of drugs all over the world undermines international peace and security. Thank you very much for listening. If anybody has questions, I will take the questions.
Yeah. My name is Yanti Topa, report for OKFN. If you say you want the chief of protocol of the executive mansion Finabondo dismissed, how do you base your assertion? What sort of investigative report that linked her to be the owner of that narcotic substance that was brought into the country?
You know, political appointees hold their position based upon the pleasure of the president. The will of the president is based upon their education experience that bring in. To hold their position is based upon the pleasure. So even the semblance of impropriety is sufficient for you to lose the political position. Someone holding that type of position near the president should be above this kind of speculation. But the documents available that came on Spoon TV last night and is now available on the social media clearly links her, not in any uncertain or ambiguous terms. Her name is clearly spelled out. That alone is sufficient for a serious president to have her dismissed.
My name is Johnson Matoma and I report for the Truth FM. Looking at the history of the issue of drug under the CDC government, ranging from the 100 billion drug case and now the newest case, and with all allegedly proper investigation by the CDC government, do you see this as intentional on the part of the government?
I can presume so, that we are going to election and the intention is to further intoxicate our young people to vote in a way that CDC wants and to steal this election. This is another way of rigging. When you put people in a state of temporary mental insanity to act the way you do, that undermines the authenticity of the election results and the integrity of the whole electoral process. So, if he fails to show seriousness about dismissing Philip Bondo, arresting her and investigating her, we will hold him responsible for all the inflow of drugs in this country as a means to maintain himself in power, which is against the interests of the Liberian people.
Yeah. My name is Liu Benny Masale and I report for Sky Communications, Sky FM and Sky Television. You said you are going to render your legal service for the prosecution of those that brought in the drugs here in Liberia. Are you going to do it pro bono basis or you are going to be paid for?
It will be free legal service. It will be part of my national duty. I will associate with the state to prosecute if they are serious about the prosecution, because I remember Anna Taylor when Sawyer and company with them, others at Seed were beaten up by some hooligans, and I offered to associate with the state. The people I saw in jail were all handicapped, and I withdrew my voluntary representation of government because I saw that the government was not serious. Everybody that appeared in the magistrate court were carrying clutches, and the people who climbed up on the first floor of a building on 10th Street to beat up Sawyer and the people at Seed at that time were able-bodied men. So clearly it showed that government was not serious to prosecute. So, but if the government shows seriousness to prosecute, I want to identify with something that is genuine. You know, so if they show seriousness to prosecute, Gongloe and associates will associate with them freely. They will not have to pay.
Okay, how soon do you want this prosecution to go on, looking at the campaign process, and to offer your services? Will it not hamper your election process?
Oh, when I say my service, I have a law firm called Gongloe and Associates with very able lawyers. So I may not appear personally, but I may appear to guide the process. And you know, I've been lawyer for 35 years. I don't have to appear in court these days myself, but I can advise on procedures. I teach criminal procedure law at the only law school in Liberia. I teach substantive criminal law, and I've been Solicitor General, so I know about prosecution. I can guide the process without any payment from government.
How soon do you want this to go?
They should begin the investigation like yesterday, and so I want it to happen now. Because the presumption by any reasonable person and those of us in the political process is that they were bringing this drug in for a purpose. And you know now, I mean, we have this situation where besides the $100 million worth of drugs, narcotic drugs that came in, that there were arms that came in suspiciously and the government failed to investigate to the end. Up to now, we don't know where the arms are, who brought them in, and nobody was prosecuted for the illicit flow of arms to Liberia, which is in violation of this government international obligation to control the flow of arms in the sub-region. We are part of the ECOWAS treaty that is against the inflow of small arms, assault weapons and all that. So they didn't investigate, they just let time, you know, overtake it with other important issues like this one now, and nobody is now talking about what happened to the arms that were secretly brought in the country. That is also a danger to our society, given the level of armed robbery and other things. This country can go nowhere if the government of Liberia does not give an indication to the Liberian people and people who want to come to our country that this country is safe. The inflow of drugs and illicit arms makes every country unsafe for its citizens and visitors. That's one of the reasons why we're having economic problems. Investors are not coming in to create jobs because this government has not shown its ability to make this country safe for everyone.
Yeah, Councillor Gongloe, if I got you right, you talk about, you call upon the president to dismiss Bono, who is the executive marshal chief of protocol. I did not hear you talking about the fellow, the security director at the RIA being dismissed and also be prosecuted.
Oh yes, no, he's part of the process. At least he has been suspended. But, you know, as a prosecutor, as a former prosecutor, most often when you go for the highest, the others follow. And you remember when our Solicitor General prosecuted Roland Khan and others who were associated with some mass murder in Margate. And my focus was highly on Roland Khan. The police were like, he's a senator. I said, there's no law that exempts him from prosecution. And I had him handcuffed along with the other co-defendants. That shows seriousness of law. When big people come under the ambit of the law, it disciplines smaller people. Like what happened in the United States in a few days. Nobody will challenge the justice system when it comes to what happened with January 6th and the attempt to subvert the Constitution of Liberia by of the United States by overturning the election results there in a criminal way. When Donald Trump, former president, a rich man, very powerful man in the American system, was made to go to jail for 1 hour. Nobody should be above the law in any country that is governed by the rule of law. That is one of the reasons I want to be president, to make sure that Liberia is a country of law and governed by the rule of law. And nobody will be above the law. So the security should be dismissed, prosecuted along with Bono. But Bono is the one that, according to what exists today, brought the drugs in and had the security as one of the person to cover up the process. So he's an aider and abettor, but the principal perpetrator of this crime is Bono. Unless she calls other people. If she says she's an agent, those people too will be brought in. But the principal actor that we know, perpetrator of this crime, is Bono. And in a country of law, the failure to arrest her, to dismiss her, arrest her, and prosecute her will show that there are some people that are above the law in this country, which is not good for our country.
Yeah, if we can divert a bit, how is your campaign going?
I don't want politics to take over this very serious issue. But the campaign is going well. I am setting new standards in political campaigning. While they are calling big crowds, I'm going around and shaking hands in the communities. When you shake hands with people, you sign contract with them. Because there may be other candidates who may never shake hands, and you are the only one who will know on election day. I'm knocking doors. That's what they do in American democracy that we are trying to practice. They go knocking doors and talking to people. I'm doing more of that. I can say when I stand before on the back of a car and I wave to people, I'm actually signing a contract with them. Many of the contenders go before a big crowd, maybe 2,000-3,000, and just speak about the crowd and leave. It doesn't connect them to the crowd. And the same crowd go to other people. But I'm trying to be very personal as much as possible. That's why I've gone to over 330 towns in Liberia. Just 2 days ago, I was at a town, Joblo town, behind the Smell No Taste. And I was told that I'm the first presidential candidate ever in the history to go there as close as that place is to Monrovia. And I always like to repeat that. I've been to Kwakwai town. Kwakwai town in River says is the home of the president's late mother. He has never been there. Never went there when he was not a president, and not been there since he became president. Total negligence in the field nuclear, and they say in that time they will all vote for me. You know, because at least I talked with them and they say, what did you come to do here 35 minutes by motorized canoe to see us in a place that people consider to be God's back? Because the many canoes have capsized going there simply because it's close to the Atlantic Ocean, the wave is strong, and they conclude that all is Nietzsche superstition. But I got a motorized canoe and I went there easily and nothing happened to me. And the woman said, why did you come here? I said, there is no risk too big for me to take for Liberia. I love Liberia more than I love myself. And I'm prepared to take any risk. And I want to be president for the Liberians in Monrovia, in Sesto City, in Ganta, in San Nicolas, in Buchanan, and the Liberians in Pakistan. I even went to the president's home that he had not been to for a long time. I went to Sastan. And I dare him go to Sastan using the presidential convoy to Tapeta, to Grand Junior, or to Sino. He can't. Because the trap is set for the rest of us Liberian people to keep bar roads, especially the southeasterners that cover him. Unless he go by air or go to Ivory Coast, he cannot easily go through the Nim route through Nimba or through Buchanan to go to the southeast. Yet he calls himself Bar Road Medicine. Bar Road Medicine, but southeastern Liberia that he comes from is inaccessible right now, except by motorbike. That exposes his ineptitude, his failure, his negligence of the interior part of Liberia. I went there in March because I know Liberia, I know my country. I know that in the southeast it rains almost every month and it rains less during the dry season. So I went there in March and I was talking about many times. So imagine in September, it's just a no-go here right now because of negligence of duty by the government in power. And that's one of the reasons why George Weah, his time is up, because he failed to govern properly, to seek the common good of the people. Freedom of movement is one of the internationally protected right and a constitutional right of every citizen, and it is an obligation of the government to protect the right of freedom of movement, which has been violated by this government. So it's a violation of oath of office. The Liberian people should not put it back. And I like to joke that, you know, in terms of superstition, you see the number was number 7 in 2017. God gave me a chance to prove himself. But because he feels so badly, this time his number is number 18. It's outside 11 players, even with the addition of 5 substitute players. He's staying in number 18. He's totally out there. I'm calling upon the Liberian people to bring him in because circumstances have put him out because he feels that he's just not a good president for our country. He was respected as an international footballer. But in terms of leadership, his leadership of this country has been like, gave me a new Mercedes-Benz, not to a mechanic, but to a carpenter to fix. And that's what has happened to all people. Should be voted into office. Let them look among the politicians and pick the best. And the best cannot be the old ruling party that made corruption vampire, and the new ruling party that has made Liberia the 10th poorest country in the world and the #1 dirtiest country in Africa. Therefore, bringing shame to us. Both of them are filled, and both of them are so desperate for power. That's why both of them, by interaction, conflict between them, one person was killed in Vaingli, Nimba County. There was a shooting incident in Cape Town. Somebody's ear was cut here. In Monrovia, somebody's finger was cut here. And there's so much tension between the two parties. So the best in the Liberian people should lay down one side. Let us sweep them out of power, because both of them are corrupt. We don't want a corrupt government. Thank you very much.